Welcome to the Soccer Coaching Podcast, where we will discuss all things that impact soccer coaching across all levels and ages. Please listen, enjoy, and share your thoughts on the discussions at the Soccer Coaching Podcast.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the Soccer Coaching Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Scott.
And I'm your other host, Mark.
We've done a whole season with the same introduction.
Yes, we need to freshen it up for next year.
Yeah, well, feedback is we've got to sort out our intro jingle and sort out our introductions.
Yeah.
And I've got to slow down my talking. So
Yeah.
2 out of 3, I reckon, for next season will do me.
we
The
get
first two, I won't do the third one. How you doing? You okay?
Yeah, pretty good, yeah.
It's been a busy morning for you.
Yes, we just had a mixed tournament with the under-10s. And when I say mixed tournament, I mean across the different teams in the under-10s age group. So the A's, B's and C team all come together for an end-of-season six-a-side tournament. So it was good fun. That was really the aim. I asked the players this morning 3 things that they want to work on. First one they shouted out was honesty, which I thought was brilliant.
Brainwashed.
Yeah, I thought it was superb.
As they were going for your wallet.
Yeah, exactly. Second one was working hard, and then the third one was having fun.
All right, so a question for you then.
Mm.
When they say these things, and I'm thinking out loud here, bearing in mind we have a similar thing with the younger ones, do you think they say them just because they know you want to hear them, or do they say them because they believe in them? Or do you see it in practice when it happens then?
Well, I think probably working hard and having fun are probably are 2 areas that we've kind of maybe drummed into them is the wrong phrase, but we talk about it a lot with them, right? And we it's 2 areas we really encourage. The honesty one I was quite surprised about. Maybe the way I kind of pitched the tournament to them was that we wouldn't have refs. They'd be managing their own tactics. They'd be managing their own positions. They'd be managing as what happens on the pitch. So maybe that's come from that kind of discussion just before. But yeah, it was. I was really, really pleased because sometimes you ask these questions and you get answers which are not really relevant, or people just say things for the sake of it sometimes.
Or just silence.
Yeah, or there's just silence. Yeah, actually, to be fair, there's
never silence.
There's never
No,
silence.
that's
Yeah,
right. And it went well.
And it went really well. Yeah, they all had fun. I actually put the teams together myself last night, so I kind of thought to myself that I really wanted the boys to do it this morning, but we had 30 boys there, and I just thought we're going to waste probably 10 or 15 minutes putting the teams together and making sure they're reasonably fair. I think we've had discussion before about they don't have to be spot on, but you want to try and make it a little bit competitive. I know that if one team's stronger than another, it's a challenge for the other team. But I try to make it reasonably fair, and it was, and all the boys had a lot of fun. Yeah, it was really good.
It looked excellent.
And we had a couple of under-8s playing with us as well. A couple of brothers played, which was good. So yeah,
good, really
superb,
good.
Yeah.
And I saw you had the 12x6 big goal one end and the 2 slightly smaller 3x4 goals the other end, so wide and thing, which is great. And changing ends at half time, were they?
Exactly. Change ends. So then they had to think about the tactics for the second half. So we kind of got them before the game. They kind of had a minute to talk through what they're going to do for tactics and things, and then we just switched it around quickly and they played.
It's always a nice way to finish, right? Because the players have had a long season.
Yes.
End of school now, last week of term, so usually that last weekend can be a bit challenging, just getting the focus and stuff, and understandably.
Yeah.
So doing like a mixed thing like you did across the whole squad, it's about the squad again, it's getting the parents together again, it's just, it's bigger than the football, right? It's not just,
definitely.
The football's the football, but this is more than that.
Definitely. And I think it's nice because there are differences in ability, obviously, right?
Yeah.
You have an A team and you have a C team. There's differences in ability, but actually they kind of mix in really well. And I think you find that the C team and the B team raise their game because they're playing with A team boys. Obviously, A team boys still stand out because also
they can be a bit scrappy, can't they? Boys and start overdoing things, shooting too far out. It happens, right? They just get overconfident in some ways. And
so it kind of it works really well. And as I said, they all had fun. We try to do it every year. We try and do it. So it's up to now it's worked well.
Good.
Really good,
well,
And you had this morning. You had we had Jamie in this morning, right?
Jamie from Brentford came down with 2 coaches and did a session for all the under 7s.
Yeah.
So again, mixed everyone together. I've got to say, you never know what obviously we know Jamie is excellent, and we've seen the coaches in Brentford do a cracking job, but you never quite know what you're going to get on the day.
Yeah.
All things can come into play, especially younger ones, the weather, conditions, it's end of term, all those kind of things. I have to say, and we've just come back from it, so it's fresh reflection. They were excellent. The coaches were fantastic. Jamie was there, but the 2 guys that run the sessions were brilliant, really engaging with the players. got their names straight away, got on working together, a whole mixed ability group, did a warm-up with everyone together. And I feel like I'm making progress as a coach and I'm improving. But then you see these guys, I've got a long way to go. Just rocked up, don't know the kids, set up a session, don't know the numbers, and just deliver something that is engaging, fun, challenging. It was really well done. And so specifics would have been they did some great warm ups with the game with the players, so get them in pairs and had 4 cones together in the middle, and they had to kind of do different things, then grab a colour cone. So it was just fun, and the kids loved it. Then ball skill stuff, just moving around in the space, but they made it engaging. And then just 2 matches really. They had 3 of the smaller goals, quite a wide pitch with 3 of the smaller 3x4 goals each end, and 1 pitch. And the other end they had like a more traditional 5-a-side pitch on the other end, and the players just played with a bit of coaching encouragement from the sidelines from the coaches. But a lovely way to finish off the term. And again, brilliant. For us, we would have done something similar to you. Otherwise, I would have thought with mixing the players up for a tournament. But it was a way to finish everyone together, reminding everyone they're part of one squad. Yeah. Getting the parents there and stuff. And I'm so keen to try and keep that as. It is hard when you go off in the season and you split into 3 separate teams, but we are one squad. And when you have to have player movement and things happen, it's important that everyone remembers that and feels part of that. And the players know the coaches, and and we know each other. And it was quite nice just to watch. To be honest with you, I could watch a bit of what's going on with you over there. But I didn't watch as much as that as I wanted to watch, because I was quite intrigued of watching the coaches and how good they were. So they kind of kept my attention as well. So really good.
Well, I think it's a great. Firstly, a coach watching, right, it's a great opportunity. You might pick things up, and there's ways maybe that even little words that the Brentford coaches were using, you could pick up and use in future, or the ways they were talking, or any kind of things like that. Yeah, it's great to pick up.
It is the little stuff, Mark. You're right, isn't it? It's not like where they put their cones and what the practice they did was. It's the way you deliver that thing, and the environment they create, and the language that they use, and that is the little words. You're dead right. Yeah. Nothing more powerful is observation. And it was great today. But let's say it wasn't great today. You'd learn loads from that as well, wouldn't you? Yeah, just seeing bad practice, but they were very good today with the boys.
Yeah, and I had just 2 things. I popped over just to say hello to Jamie, and also I watched kind of just a few minutes, and I thought they were excellent. Really enthusiastic, the coaches with the boys, really enthusiastic. I was impressed with that. And also I was the first one over there this morning to open up, and one of the Brentford coaches just come in just after me. So and I said to him that you can go and just set up over there, and he kind of set up and he was ready to go. I was quite impressed that they're there that early.
It's always encouraging when they're...
Yeah, definitely. Makes a big difference.
Okay, so the plan for today is... this is probably going to be our last one of the season because of holidays, things like kicking in. So this is the last podcast for season 1, we're going to call it. And we will start afresh in season 2, early September. We've already got a few cracking guests actually lined up that I'm confident are going to come through, make a nice start for the season with regards to some different voices and some different views and things. So look forward to that. If we go quiet for a month, we're not disappearing off the face of the earth. We're just sitting on a beach somewhere, probably reading football books and ignoring our wives and kids. But we'll be back in with season 2. Yeah. But for this episode, we're going to just do a couple of things really, if that's all right. We're going to have a little reflection on tournaments, because it's been tournament time over here, which is quite common practice, the back end of the season, right? So we'll talk about tournaments and our experiences and our take of that. A little reflection on the season, generally speaking, from your point with working with the under-10s and maybe the under-7s. And then we'll just finish with maybe some recommendations for things for the summer, books to read, podcasts to listen to, I don't know, anything like that. Does that sound all right? Quite informal, quite casual. We won't go on for too long. We'll try and... I won't set a target because we'll probably miss it by a mile, but we'll try and make it less than 2 hours. Let's set that target. But no, not too long, and we'll just go through those things. Sound good?
Yeah, perfect, yeah.
So, should we start with tournaments?
Yes.
Because I know you love them.
Oh, yeah, yes. So...
do you want to explain the setup of tournaments? How generally speaking it works over here in the grassroots space? What they're like, when, and how just people that aren't as close to it over here, maybe the people out in the States and further afield, it just...
So I guess generally speaking, the summer tournament season starts kind of April, runs through to July. A lot of the grassroots teams, or pretty much all the grassroots teams, will have a tournament. Will kind of host a tournament. It's a great opportunity, to promote the club, but also in terms of fundraising for the club. So there's an absolute host of so many different tournaments.
There's a lot, isn't there? Yeah, there's more than there used to be, isn't there? Like almost everyone's doing one.
Yeah. Generally, they're mostly 5 and 6-a-sides as well, right? Yeah. You kind of don't see much movement from 5 or 6-a-side.
Well, actually, so because obviously you're playing 7s going to 9-a-side. Have you seen any 7 or 9-a-side tournaments, or is it literally all 5 and 6?
Well, the only 7-a-side tournament that we played this year was the Bournemouth, was it? Where we played?
Oh yeah, down in Bournemouth. That was
yeah,
seven-a-side.
that's the
Was
only
it? It was
seven-a-side
seven-a-side, wasn't it?
tournament that
Yeah,
we played,
which is a bigger thing, I
It's a
guess, in
bigger
many
thing,
ways.
yeah,
It wasn't like you kind of.
Yeah.
It wasn't a club run thing. It was a national company running
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So go on. So what?
So yeah. So I generally try to. I think we try to do 3 tournaments a year, and we try to do tournaments that perhaps at least 1 or 2 tournaments we haven't been to. So teams, just an opportunity to play different teams. You don't end up playing the same teams you play in the kind of league, I guess, season. And there's normally 1 tournament that we do, which is, I'll mention the team actually, Explorers, which is a really well run tournament. I know that you've done that with the under 7s, under 6s before. So we try and do that every year.
It's consistently well run, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very well run. Yeah, and the others we just try and do different tournaments, whatever kind of works. We just can sign up for. So,
and what's your approach to them then? I mean, do you go to win the tournaments? Do you go to participate? Do you take a different approach in the sense to formations or player expectations? How do you approach tournaments, or does it differ from tournament to tournament?
I think it differs from tournament to tournament, and the reason I say that is that we are a B team, so we try to enter tournaments which are, I guess they call them cult tournaments, or they are seeded tournaments. So you're not just play your group games, go into a knockout, semi-final, final. So we try to play something where even if you finish 4th or 5th in your group, you go to a different knockout. So they have a cup, a shield, a plate. Just gives you more chances of getting to quarterfinals and finals and things like that. Success, yeah. And it's not. And again, for me, it's about the boys having fun and enjoying themselves. Yeah. So I think that's why we try to do those kind of tournaments. Otherwise, we end up playing teams that are too strong for us, and it's a good challenge for the boys, no doubt about it. But it's not a level playing field.
Doesn't really work, does it? No. And I do get that it's hard for organisers to always know where to put teams, because often they don't know the teams, right?
Yeah.
You know, they're even a club that's might know its local teams, but if we're going further afield, they won't know us.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you take, we went in the Bournemouth tournament, we went to the 7-a-side tournament. That wasn't seeded, so you ended up playing A teams, B teams, C teams. So I think we won 1 match in that tournament. We got thumped in one of the matches because they played a very good team, and so it's just I just try to do those cult type tournament just to make it as fair as fair as possible, really. Yeah.
And the players, what's their take on it? Do they come to have fun? Is it ice creams? Because the reality is with these tournaments is you're there from 3, 4, sometimes 5 hours, with probably 30 minutes of football across 7. Some kids are getting like 20 minutes of football probably across 5 hours. Do they come for the ice creams, for the play, for the bit in between, or do they come? Are they tuned into the football?
I think they are. I think I would say my team at the probably under 8s, maybe going into under 9s. They probably weren't as tuned into the football. It was a bit more around coming along for ice creams and things like that. A little bit.
Which is nothing wrong with that.
Which is fine. Yeah,
you can do it for different purposes, right?
But But certainly I've noticed the last kind of 12 months they're a lot more focused at tournaments. You kind of don't have to go and find them between games and things like that, because that's always the danger, right? You won't have a game for 45 minutes and you got one parent's taking their son over to get a hamburger, the other one's on the bouncy castle, the other one's
on
over
the toilet.
Here.
Toilet. Gloves on.
Exactly, yeah. So recently we done very well in a tournament recently. We got to the final, we lost in the final. It was the first time we've kind of got that far and done so well. So we went through our quarter-final on penalties, won the semi-final against actually better teams on paper, but we played very well, and then we just lost in the final against a very good team.
See, it's funny, Mark, because being in the younger space with the little ones, and although you still want to go and win the games, it's still not. Very few of the tournaments are trophy oriented where you can go to a semi-final. So it's not about. There's not necessarily a result for them ultimately. So it's even weird hearing you talk about going to win something like a competition, and I can see how that would shift focus and mind, especially in maybe I'm not saying especially in an A team, but where maybe the desire from parents maybe is a bit stronger or not this side. Maybe the expectation is a bit stronger. And I'm not saying B's and C's can't win tournaments, because they certainly can, especially if they're streamed and rightly so. Yeah. But it's funny hearing you talk about that, because we're still not in that space just yet with the little ones. Although we have played tournaments where there's been trophies and the boys have done okay, but we didn't know one of them. Yeah. The first one when they did well, we didn't know it was going to be a trophy, and we don't go with that intent. So it must be a different mindset when you go. Yeah, it is, and something at the end of it.
Yeah, and I think there's a place for it actually when you get to under 10s. Obviously, the the league season is meant to be non-competitive. We know it is competitive, right? You don't see results of other games and you don't see league tables and things, but they're certainly competitive every Sunday morning. And I think there is a place for tournaments to have that competitive edge for players. We want them to have that desire to win, but I think as coaches we just need to be careful that we don't get kind of sucked into the wrong approach at tournaments, and you still try to do things fairly in terms of equal game time and in terms of moving positions where you can and things like that.
I wonder whether they could be used, and it's maybe again because I'm coming from a younger age group to it and looking ahead rather than being in the middle of it all, whether or not you've got a choice as you approach a tournament, whether you say, okay, we're going to go to win this one. Yeah. So we're going to, maybe we can go try and test it. Maybe we do a bit more solidify positions and do things and stuff. I don't know. Or we're going to have a mindset so much just for fun. It's for the ice creams and we're going to go and have a social. And do you know what, boys, don't really that fussed about it. Just go and play and do what you want to do. Yeah. Or you could go as an experiment. So we'll try different things today. Yeah, maybe a silent coach or a different. I don't know. I wonder if there's different ways in which you could get more out of tournaments if you have a different approach towards them, or is it really got to be about? Do you know what? We've got to take it relatively seriously, and we've got to try and do the best we can in each game.
Yeah. I'm not sure I would do a lot of different things at a tournament in terms of like if I be silent for the whole game.
Why? Because there's something that's going already.
Yeah, I think maybe that's
too many unknowns.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I think. I don't know, and also I think parents are there as well. I think there's a bit of desire from the parents for the kids to try their hardest and things. Maybe a little bit more pressure. Yeah, but I think even like we go to tournaments and I want the boys to win and want them to do well and things. And even the tournament where we got to the final in the group games, I think we won our first game and we drew our second game. So I kind of knew that by that point that we were going to go, we would progress to a next round of one of the cup, plate or shield. So I was fairly relaxed after that in the rest of the games that we just rotated positions and we changed things up and we got beat quite heavily in one of the games. And I think probably it's going to be one of my reflections that we talk about actually is that when these players were younger, I didn't rotate them enough around different positions. So they're not like, whereas you with the under sevens, they all play different positions, left, right, up, forward, back. I didn't do that, or we didn't even do that when we had them. And I think that kind of has a knock-on effect as you go down the road that it's harder to do that and be competitive. Yeah, you can still maintain it. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can do it, can't you? You can do it, but you lose that competitive piece.
And you don't know who you're playing against, do you? I guess in tournaments, even if you know the teams, you don't always know what players are going to be from that team because they can mix things up themselves, right? We often take players, B team players with A teams and C teams with B teams, so you don't, you just don't know what you're going to get, do you?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All right, and so on tournaments, generally speaking, you recommend them? Do you think they're a good thing? Would you rather play matches? Would you?
I would rather play matches personally. Yeah. I just think that, and we've kind of had to discuss this before, but you kind of, as you said earlier, you go along there. You like, I think the tournament we got to the final, we arrived at 1:30. We didn't get home till 7:30 or 7:45 or something, so it was a long time.
Success, mate, that is.
Yeah, well, we got to the final, so I'm not. It was the boys
usually
loved
I hope
it.
About 12:10.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the boys loved it, but it's just a lot of time. You think actually you played 5 or 6 games of 10 minutes,
50 minutes over 5 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Or longer.
And you've got 2 subs there, so it's you. I think I would always rather play a game, but you can't get away from the fact that the kids.
Do they enjoy them?
They love it, yeah. They love it. You can just see when they turn up and they're asking for ice creams halfway through. You have to try and manage that. And they just love it, right? As much as coaches, you think you don't enjoy it. Sometimes you got to just sit back and say, look, fair play, they love it. And
you've done quite a few now, obviously. And how are you? Do you enjoy them more or less? Is it hit or miss depending on the tournament itself?
It can be hit and miss depending on the tournament, yeah. I think if you haven't got a well-run tournament, then I think it's
painful.
It's painful, yeah. I think if you've got, like we mentioned, the Explorer tournament, very well run. It's just everything runs on time.
You can be confident, can't you? It's going to stick to the schedule. You're going to know what you're going to get.
Exactly, and you turn up there and everything's set up. Literally everything is set up. It's all kind of ready to go. There's kind of there's officers kind of bring you into the car park and stuff, and it's properly run. Whereas we've turned up at tournaments where they're still kind of putting the goals up and things like that. You kind of question actually
what it's going to be like.
What it's going to be like. But I think my view as a coach is that we do them because the kids love them.
There's a whole social side, right, as well, isn't there? As in, like, for the players, the social kind of that, spending time together,
Yeah, exactly.
Mixing the parents, mixing with each other. Kids are there, aren't they? Families are there and stuff. So there's more. It gets more than just football. Right?
And there's also this kind of psychological side as well, right? They getting my team. We played a certain team, a local team, in the group games, and they beat us 5-0. Really, they were superb. I'd mixed my team up and positions and things like that a lot. And then for some reason we got them in the quarterfinals. I don't know how it worked out, but we got them in the quarterfinals. And I could see on their faces as soon as I told them who we're playing, they were asking. You could see that they just looked worried. They were asking. They were like, "Oh no, we're not playing them, are we?" And so you've also got that kind of psychological challenge, which is great for playing so many different teams.
Yeah,
and also playing maybe some teams twice.
Yeah.
And we ended up superb against them. We were 1-0 up, and they equalised literally with 10 seconds to go of the match. Went into penalties, and we beat them on penalties. And it was just great to see that. It was just great to see.
And there's a lot of learning for the players there, right?
Yeah,
subconsciously, probably just in the takeaways there. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think for the younger age groups,
I was going to say,
like, I would choose a game over tournament if I'm honest with you personally, but I do get the fact that they're important for the stuff you mentioned, socially and psychologically. You're dead right. Just that whole kind of different teams and a different place to play and a bit of chaos and different pitches and stuff. So it's all good lessons for the players. They can be hit or miss. I think we did one last Sunday, and we had 4 games of 10 minutes each, and 2 teams were much better than us, and 2 teams were much better than them, I think.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really. I kind of walked away feeling a bit like, well, what was the point? And the other problem we've got with this team, and I say this knowing full well there are a lot of teams out there that are better than we are, but we have won 2 tournaments.
Yes.
And I think the players now they're not that bothered. And one of the first questions the players do ask is a couple of trophy at the end of it? And I'm like, no, we're here just for the fun kind of thing. And I think because they've had some success, they're up for that challenge. Now, we wouldn't have won a tournament. We wouldn't have won it last Sunday, no problem. So it's not like we would have won anything.
Yeah.
But I think for the players, straight away, they're like, okay, well, all right, we'll do it. And they were fine. But I think it's good maybe to have the opportunity to win something, but then I get why you don't. But once you've kind of won a couple of things, I think the players almost expect it now because they're young and stuff. Do you know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
I think like especially under 7s, under 8s, generally the tournaments. There's not many tournaments, as you said earlier, that are competitive, right? They just play your group games and then you get medal and you go home. I can't work out in my head whether that's the right way to do it or whether actually you're going along to a tournament for the day. Maybe you should have a semi-final and a final. I can't work out that. Generally, under 9s, it looks like a lot of tournaments start to all the tournaments under 9s are competitive with finals.
That's when it changes.
Yeah, I just can't work out whether it actually they should just all of them do it for under 7s and under 8s as well.
You don't always know, do you, either? When you go to these tournaments, you don't always know what it's going to be like. I mean, I ask the questions now. I always email the person saying, can you tell me the format? Just because I want to kind of plan the teams and make sure equal playing time. Is it 4 games, 5 games? How long is it going to be? Is there final? And often it's just, you've got 4 straight games in a group and the group's just kind of randomly put together.
Yep.
So it's a bit of a lucky dip. Which, again, you don't want to play teams that you walk through easy. You don't want to play teams that, I mean, the 2 teams we lost to, one is just full of the Arsenal Academy boys, which we're not at that level, which is fine, but we haven't got a team full of Arsenal Academy boys. And they were great, and fair play to them. But even for them, I think, well, where's the challenge, really, and it's a different conversation probably about the academisation.
I think we can just touch on it a little bit because I was there as well. It just didn't, I don't know, I'm not sure if you had known those teams were going to be there, the academy teams would be there before, would you have still signed up for the tournament or not?
I certainly wouldn't have been as keen, just because I don't see the point. I would rather just play them, as in go along to the academy and make it more informal but just play. We've done it before, haven't we? We've done it at Chelsea, we've done it at Wickham, we've done it at Watford. We were taking the boys to these places, and we've had mixed experiences, and the boys have mixed performances, but it's been the whole thing ultimately has been good for them, for the players. I don't really get what you get out of a 10-minute game. Our players would need a bit more time to adjust because the level's a bit stronger compared to what they used to. Again, we're rotating players around, so we've not got the same players. We've got 7 players, so they're all going to get a go to play against. They'll get a go in the game, but one boy's in goal the whole game. 4 boys are getting 5 minutes each. So what are they really going to get out of it apart from just a bit of these guys are quite good. The game's over now, and we lost 1-0. I don't know is the answer. I would just what you want to play is teams like you, don't you?
Yeah,
teams that are roughly the same level with coaches that are kind of on the same page you're all at. And it's and that's what you look for, and hopefully you kind of get the win as well, because that's brilliant, but in the right spirits. And if you don't, you kind of say, you had a good battle and shake the coach's hands and it's all good, and you leave it at that. I don't know. I'm not sold on them. We'd always do a couple just because I think it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But I would edge towards a nice kind of collaborative training match.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. No, I agree. Just I guess final point on the on that tournament where you had the academy teams, it just doesn't. I don't know. For me, it just doesn't sit well. It doesn't feel
one
right.
Wasn't the academy. So that's the thing to mention. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah.
But actually, but one wasn't. That's the other thing here. I mean, again, I don't want to get too complicated. This it's not fair to. This is certainly an opinion, and we've tried to avoid having specific opinions about stuff.
Yeah.
But one of the teams would be what you'd call a grassroots team.
Yes.
But has filled their boots with academy boys. On paper, it's a team like we are.
Yeah.
But actually, they're all an academy. Now, I'm not going to. You can have your own view on that at home, what you think about that as a right or wrong thing. And I actually get the benefits in some ways for the players, but you're comparing apples and oranges then. You're not comparing, the two things together. And it made it a bit of a nonsense. So I thought we got 20 minutes of football, to be honest with you, rather than 40 minutes.
No, agree. And especially bearing in mind that your team has got 8 boys, of which 6 or 7 are all from the same school.
Yeah, 7 from the, and even the 8th boy, who's a cracking kid, he feels like one of the boys from the school. He's come, he's
goes to all the parties, kids' parties,
exactly.
And all that,
he's as good. I forget he's not one of the kids from the schools.
Yeah,
and we had one of the boys who's joined us from moving up from the B team to our team. Now again, so a cracking kid and a very able player, but he's not adding to our top end right now because we've got and rightly so. So I just feel like. It was good to see actually because both teams were very good, and it was good for us to see and think actually that's aspirational to work towards this. But being realistic about the players we've got and the time and things like that, that is aspirational, and we're not quite there yet. And I'm happy to aspire to that, and I'm happy to work with these people, the players and other coaches, to get there. But a 10-minute tournament game doesn't really do much for anybody.
No,
I just don't really see it. I don't think it did for them or for us.
Yeah.
And likewise for the two teams that we beat, I don't think there was any. It wasn't. Yeah. And that's the hard thing with tournaments is getting that balance of ability. That's even actually it's hard for the organisers. It's a shame there's not a better way of doing that. And you almost have to know yourself the tournaments that do it quite well and stuff. The best tournament I've seen actually, we went before to a tournament, and I think there was, I can't remember, maybe 4 or 5 teams in 4 different groups. And the way they did it was everyone played everyone once, and then you kind of finished where you did in your league. And then it was 4 teams in each group. Sorry, the 4 bottom teams went to one group, then the 3 to the next, 2 to one, and 1 to the other. So then you played another round again. So by that's the bit used to the more. So whatever happens, then you've kind of got to that group, and it's a bit closer. Yeah. So if you're in the 4th group, at least you're going to get 4 more or 3 more games against teams that are roughly around your ability. So okay, and if you lost the next 3 games, all right, but at least there'll be more hopefully closer and engaging games.
Yeah. And the same as the top end, right?
And the same as top end. So now you're being challenged again. So I think that was a really good format. Everyone gets the 6 games, and the last 3 are the ones that probably really matter. Not matter, but the ones that you can look at and think, if you've gone and walked past a team in round 1, well, just qualify it for what it is. Yeah, and if you've got thumped in round 1, well, don't worry about it too much. You won't play them in round 2 anyway.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
All right.
So just one question quickly. Just we're talking. I think we've spoken about the players. How about the parents? How would you manage the parents going into tournaments, even for your team or I guess for any team?
Well, so far I've always sent a message out saying we're going. This is a bit of fun. I think that's what I tend to do. And now, don't get me wrong. I still want the boys to be competitive, and I think we owe it to the opposition and to ourselves. Yeah. But ultimately, it's and I've tried to make it more about them, although not particularly well. Like loosen the strings a little bit, but I do struggle to do that, generally speaking, and probably even maybe more in tournaments because of the fact you haven't got much football time. So I don't do that very well. I would like to think I could do it better moving forward. But I say to the parents that because I don't want the pressure to win or the boys to win stuff, it's just turn up, let's just have a bit of fun and see how it goes. And I try and then manage that with the boys just before the game starts. Warm them up at the start, and then almost finish, and then just 2 minutes or 5 minutes before the game's about to start each game, get them together and have a little chat about expectations and stuff, and then put them out there and play. Yeah. But so if parents, I try and position like that, but we all know parents, they'll have their own take on it, won't they?
Definitely, and I think probably the fact that you won a couple of tournaments doesn't help. There's that expectation a little bit probably with some of the parents, although they are, to be honest, they're very good. Like I was mixing with them last week. I try not to speak to the parents too much, to be honest. I was
you were one of them last week.
I was watching with them last week, so They are very. You're lucky in terms of, or you've managed them well.
Well, I don't know. I mean, communicate lots, don't we? And they accept a lot of things, but
Yeah.
and the team's doing well. And I think we all know what it's like. We're all parents, right? So the first thing you care about is your kid.
Yeah.
100%. And what I've tried to do more this season, and maybe it's comes to reflections now, but it's to see through the eyes of the parents, thinking, okay, if I was X's mum or dad, would I be happy with their session, with the way Scott spoke to the kid, with what happened to me, all that kind of stuff? And and I think most of the time I'm kind of thinking I'd be okay with it. You don't always know, and I don't always get it right myself.
Yeah.
But I try and that way, and communicate as much as I can with what we're trying to do, plans wise, and the intentions with the players, and why we're making the choices we're making. And to be fair, like you say, that we've got a cracking set of kids, and 2/3 of that is thirds because they're cracking, but because the parents are cracking, and it helps a lot. But you're right. I think the trophy thing has almost become not a problem, but also we've not done a tournament with a trophy, have we? So it'd be interesting when we did a tournament with a trophy and we don't have success. Yeah. Not that I think the parents will change, but how the players deal with that and stuff. Yeah. Because that will definitely happen at some point sooner rather than later.
Right. Yeah. So overall, then for tournaments, I think we're of the view that perhaps games are better for development, maybe in some ways, more game time. But you can't get away from the fact that tournaments, the kids love tournaments.
Social and psychological side is a big tick in the box, right?
Exactly, yeah.
So a challenge for us, I would say, certainly for me, would be maybe to think about how I could use tournaments a bit more. Maybe, say we did 2 or 3, you might go to 1 to win.
Yep.
You might go 1 to have just fun.
Yep.
And you might go 1 to try something different out. Maybe that's where approaching them, with regards to maybe the players choose the formation, or the players lead the talks, or I don't know what it could be, but you could have a challenge, right? Maybe that's one way to get more out of them. I do think most coaches go to want to win them, especially when they get to your level you're at and the age group you're at. Yeah. But and maybe I'll change my mind when that's the thing. But should we move on to reflections of the season? Okay, so we're going to have to keep it relatively brief because we've gone on along at tournaments and the introduction. But Mark, we've not spoke about this at all. So this is off shooting from the hip now. Yeah. I mean, you've had a big season in many different ways, but what's in 5 minutes or so, what's your main reflections and takeaways from the season that you've had, and what would you share with other coaches listening that they might find useful?
All right, so this is my last season actually as the coach of the under-10s B team.
Got fired finally.
So finally got rid of me, sacked me. Yeah. So my son's moving, so I'm kind of stepping back because I've got 2 sons and I can't watch them as well as coach another team. So I'm stepping back. So for me, like the last 5 or 6 years has been. I just feel like I've learned so much over that. It's just I look back at like when we first started. Yeah. It was some of the stuff we're doing is like. Just gonna close my eyes and just gonna forget about it. So I feel like
a lifetime away, isn't it?
Oh, it's unbelievable, right? So, but I feel like over that period I've learned so much. I'm so proud of how the boys have developed in that time. If I specifically look at this season, I think probably a couple of areas that I really picked up on. One is around responsibility, is trying to give the players more responsibility each week. So things like today where we had the mixed tournament. In the past, I would have had a parent managing each of the teams because I thought it was a great idea to get the parents involved in it. But this time round, I said to the other coaches that we're having no parents running, we're having no referees, we're just going to let the boys manage as much as we can. We had 1 parent on each pitch just on the side, just in case they needed to support, but they didn't at all. That was probably the most proudest thing of today, actually. They didn't need to step in at all. I think more responsibility in training, in matches, asking more kind of open questions at half time, giving the players a minute just to think about how that first half went or that first quarter went, and then coming back to kind of getting them to tell us. That would definitely be one of my biggest takeaways this year.
Did you go out from the start of the season with a plan?
No. I think it was. I haven't. No, honestly. I tell you the turning point.
If you go back to say this time or the summertime last year when you're thinking about September starting, did you have this is my plan for this season?
Oh, sorry.
This is what I'm looking to achieve. And did you have any objectives or any messages?
Yeah. So. Yeah,
I'm keen to link that back to what you were just saying. So I want to know first where you were starting from, your starting point.
So I think from the start of the season, I wanted to go. So really, from the start of the season, I wanted to go back and really just focus on the players, try and make the sessions more player centric, as much player centric as I possibly could, more so than I had done in the past, and really tried to be organised in terms of the sessions that my planning. Basically, they were kind of my two main objectives going into the season. Obviously, the longer term development of the players, my usual kind of approach in that respect that I share with the parents at the start of the season. But those were two areas that I really wanted to kind of work on, and I feel like I have worked and developed those. But actually, the player responsibility piece coming more, I think, probably a little bit around some of the stuff we talk about in the podcast. But also, I remember watching. I think you had the under-7s doing futsal, and I videoed. You were doing a chat with the players. And you were asking them, I think you would debrief, it could have been a debrief after a previous game or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but I just thought, wow, the kind of questions you were asking the under-7s, the open questions and the responses you were getting, I was thinking, look, I've got an under-10s team. Just think what I could do with that team. And I could get them doing most of the talking at half-time. I could get them doing a lot of the talking during training, asking them questions. So I just feel I just really try and ask as many questions. And even in the tournament today, in between the games, we would get all the players together. I would ask them, right, just tell us 3 things that worked really well in those games for you. And I would make sure that it's different boys asking the questions. Tell me 3 things that you're going to do better in this game. And they would give us 3 things. And I would ask them just to expand on it and things like that. So I think that's my biggest kind of learning, or my biggest takeaway for this year, is that player, giving them responsibility.
Well, it's no coincidence then, if your start of season plan is about focus on the players and making it more player centric, then even though you're being honest by not saying actually the ownership responsibility wasn't necessarily overt from the outset, there's no doubt, there's not a surprise that's come out during the season, right? Because it's integral to it. You can't really have it without the others. And you know, if you're making it player centric and not giving any ownership or responsibility, it ain't really player centric, is it?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's fair play. And I've seen it, Mark. I'm saying this stuff knowing some of this stuff. So what is probably important then is to say, okay, you've done this, fantastic, all sounds wonderful. 2 questions that I've got for you: why? And what have been the benefits?
So I think for me, the 2 biggest things is, one is the engagement from the players, in terms of you can just you can see the way they're talking and the way they're looking at you, or when you're asking them questions, or you're giving them the option of, right, we're going to play a match. I want you to kind of go away and choose the teams. I want you to tell us, we're focused on passing today. What do you think we can do in terms of how we can condition this game? Those kind of things. You can just see their engagement, and it's just they're much more focused and interested in. They're buying. You're getting them to buy into what you're doing, basically.
They feel more part of the session.
They feel part of the session, exactly. And I think secondly, my biggest one of the things that I just really proud of is we had a boy that joined our team at the start of the season. He was very quiet, very shy. Literally wouldn't say anything. Like, it was really hard, and like I had to work really hard to get him to talk. And even like January, February time, when he turned from just training with us to playing in matches and things like that, he kind of signed on properly. It was very quiet, but you could see his confidence coming. You could see it, like because he's a very good technical player and he scores goals. You could just see it coming. And probably April onwards now, it's like when I ask him questions, he's the first one to have his hand up. And he's giving like really clever answers. It's like really, really clever. And you can tell he's definitely a shy boy, and he's not a boy that goes to the local school here. He goes, it's a local school, but just a bit further away. But he's just answering questions. And I think to myself, if I hadn't had that approach that I started to use a lot more this year in terms of engaging the players more, then he would probably still just be kind of standing there and being quiet. And you can see on the pitch how he's developed on the pitch as well, in terms of how he gets on with the boys and things like that. It's brilliant, really good.
So things like decision making, resilience, would it be? I'm going to put words in your mouth here, but have you seen more of that by doing this stuff? Because that's what I would imagine you would see by giving the players the ownership. That a practical example might be, okay, they get a kick from an opposition player, and rather than roll down and go down and cry about it, they can carry on and get on with it, because they're used to having that thing about it's on me now to do more. Like I've got more responsibility, therefore I'm more accountable, therefore I've got to work a bit harder and do things. I mean, does it play out in practice that way? Because that's how I would hope it would play out.
Yeah, definitely. And I remember we on the resilience piece, I'd done a road to Wembley, so a kind of one-on-one road to Wembley. It's actually called Road to Loftus Road because Queen Sport Rangers.
So everyone's trying to lose.
Exactly, yeah, they're trying to get to the other end. So you got like kind of 6 lanes, 12 players, or depends on the number of players you got, and you play one-on-ones in the lanes. If you win, you go up. If you lose, you go down. And the aim is to obviously get to Loftus Road because that's the kind of the prime pitch. And one of the boys, I think he was in the kind of middle pitch, and a decision went against him. He was playing against a boy, and he thought that he'd stopped it on the line to get a point. It wasn't given. My assistant manager didn't give it. He didn't sulk about it. He didn't complain about it. He got on with it, and he was 1-0 down, and he scored 2 points in the last few minutes to win that and move up. And I brought the players together, and I got him, and he's another boy who's actually quite shy, and he's come on loads this year. And I got him to tell me or tell the group exactly what had happened. Yeah, and it was a great example of just get on with things. You're not always going to get the decision. Such a powerful message in
it when you can highlight when a player's done something that is almost symbolic of the kind of team you want to create. And I know it's not your team; it's their team, but you have to facilitate that, don't you, and manipulate in some ways. And what a great message to send to the players that this is the kind of team we need to be and can be.
Yeah, super. And I think the other thing is that it just goes to show you can do this. You don't have to do this. Ideally, you do it from under 6s, under 5s, under 7s really early. But I didn't do all this kind of stuff at that really young age. And you can still introduce it under 9s, under 10s, and they pick it up. Exactly, they come through. Yeah. Just one other thing I would say, and then you can talk around your kind of your review for the season. I think work outside the sessions. I've noticed that 1 or 2 boys over the last couple of years have been doing a lot of work outside the session, and you can really see how they've kind of come on in terms of their kind of football ability. Yeah, I think that's one thing that's I think really, really important. It's not just a case of rocking up at training and matches, and that's it for football. Yeah. If you can do an extra session, or if you can kick it around at home with your parents, or if you've got a brother or sister to play as well, I think that's one thing I noticed, that the boys that do a bit more outside the session really, really develop at I think a faster rate.
And I don't know what you'd qualify it percentage-wise, but for me, just as a rough thing, I would say it's 80-20. With the time we have available with the players that we have, whether that's 1-2 sessions plus the games, it's about 20% of their development. Now, we want to maximise that the best we can. That's our job, right? To get that 20% to be almost, 100% of that 20% to be effective. That's our challenge, right? To make all the things you're speaking about there, and whatever coach thinks is appropriate for their sessions, but to make the most out of 20%. But the other 8% is what they do outside those sessions, what they eat, exercise they do, what sports they play, what they watch, or the message from the parents. All that has a much bigger impact on the 20% you can do. Now, don't get me wrong, 20% is important still, and you can certainly nudge good players up a little bit and bring other players back in, and get players starting out upper level. But it's the other stuff outside, right? That 8% is much more, isn't it, over time than the 20%. So if they're doing those things, they're going to kick on a treat. And when they come to sessions, and you can tell quite the kids that have spent some time out, week to week necessarily, but certainly month to month doing that, it makes a real significant
And it is
difference.
Other sports as well. I know you've kind of mentioned that a lot in the past. Doing other sports is really important.
I'm
just
conscious of the fact,
body movements.
Yeah, and conscious of the fact that you don't want the kids to burn out. I mean, we got young ones, right? And I don't want them to be bored when they're 13, 14 in football. I just love it still. Yeah. And there's a danger that if we just do loads of football, and if they love it right now and they want to do it, sometimes you've got to say to them, actually, no, go and hit a tennis ball, go and play some cricket, go and swim pool, go for a run, get on the bike, do something. But I just think you've got to, maybe more as a parent than a coach, but a responsibility to try and just manage the amount of hours they invest into one thing. And if you look at the science, most of the evidence says multi-sports is the way to go about things. Yeah. It's hard, isn't it? Because we're all obsessed with football. But, getting the tennis racket out and having a hit, often getting over there and knocking the cricket ball about, and gymnastics. There's loads, isn't there? Just find something, 2 or 3 other things that you can do just to dilute, so it's not always football. Or if it's football, do futsal, do a different version of it.
Different. Yeah, totally agree. Okay, so your kind of highlights or
reflections on the season. I'm really pleased with the plan I had from the outset. We built on the respect, effort, fun values that sticks with us, so we keep that, and that's more about behaviour and attitude and application towards the things we're trying to do. So that's not necessarily football stuff. That's just about character, really. Yeah. So respect, effort, fun stays fundamental to what we're doing. After that, it was the 3 things we had for this season was get on the ball quickly, make good decisions, and play tough. And obviously, that can be quite ambiguous around that. But we worked hard on trying to bring that to life throughout the season. And I think we've done it pretty well. You know, getting on the ball quickly, the reasons why, and what that looks like in practice, making good decisions, what choices those are, and how you might use those, and then playing tough is pretty much, you know, getting stuck in. And what I tried to do there then was marry that up with the training sessions and the games to make sure they're high intensity. There's a bit of player ownership in there and all those things. And I'm really pleased, and I think we've seen the benefits of it. The rotation policy stayed in place, so relatively equal goalkeeper time, relatively equal back and front, not so equal left and right, which is something challenged me for next season to do, but certainly on those places. And the player ownership in the sense of captains trying to encourage their teammates. Certainly, all those little things do add up. I know it doesn't sound like much, does it? But we would have worried 5 years ago, we would have been, part of our session plan would have been about who's going to be in which team, wouldn't it? To make them fair and equal. You know, I'll throw out 3 orange bibs. Now, if you happen to get the 3 strongest players that day together to play, deal with it. If I need to switch it, I will. But that's the lesson for the other 3 players. We'll deal with it. You know, well, you're telling me these guys are better than you. Well, you're in the wrong team, aren't you? Then, you know, and trying to be honest and tough with the boys, because they are all boys, but obviously keeping it age appropriate, and that's always a bit of a challenge. So I do feel like I'm quite tough with them sometimes, but not in a shouty, nasty, telling them what to do way, but as in deal with it, get on with it. You know, you just got to fail, but you know, you're getting the free kick, get on, carry on, kind of thing. And I think it's helped the boys. And back to that 28% session thing, I think we get a lot out of our sessions. You know, the players, I don't feel like we waste much time. Boys get a lot out of it, and it is game based. And there's a lot of games, but the games will have challenges. There'll be conditions in there sometimes. You know, we're working on our principles of play. Still, always are in there. Not massive, complicated things, but just about getting wide when we've got the ball, playing from the keeper. The keeper plays and commits somebody. Sharing at the right time if you can, making good decisions. So it's all in there. When you stick to that plan, and it was right from the outset, or at least it looks like it's been right from the outset, and we stuck through it for the season. We've got to the end of it, and I'm proud of how the boys have kicked on. Every single one of them, I believe, has improved as a goalkeeper, as a back player, as a front player. And their confidence and characters has improved as well. And it was illustrated, I think, we did the awards, the end of season awards ceremony thing. For the first time, we got some of the boys to present trophies to some of the other boys. We haven't tried it before, so we wouldn't do everyone from the beginning. But how great were they at that as well, you know? And there's no doubt that all the boys can do it next season, 100%. And we will do that next season. So it's not just about the football, it's the other things as well. So yeah, I think for me, it was having that plan from the outset. It was sticking to it. It was being consistent with the messages, but not being so prescriptive that it was boring or it was my show and the Scott show. It was, they were open enough to be able to the players to make their own mind about things, but within the kind of the framework, if you like. And I see myself as a facilitator, not as a coach. I just facilitate the sessions. Maybe there's a coaching role more as they players get older, maybe even next season, maybe under 8s, but certainly I think at under 6 or 7s, just facilitate a really good engaging session.
Yeah, and I think like obviously I can talk about my son because he kind of he tells me about training and things like that, and he just says how much fun he has, and like his favourite football session is a Wednesday night. It's just because there's lots of matches involved and it's fun and it's playing.
But it's tough. I mean, it's still tough. They get knocked down, they get kicked, they get tears, but they embrace it. Yeah,
and I think that's the impressive thing actually. Bear in mind it's an under 7s team, and it's something you've installed obviously from under 6s onwards. Is the fact that in training, they're all very highly competitive in training. If one of them does get fouled or gets injured or I don't know, it's a handball or something, you don't generally, I very rarely see fouls given. They just get up and get on with it. There's no kind of saying, oh, that should have been a free kick. They just kind of like, all right, just play.
It was funny today because obviously the Brentford guys were doing the matches and they were giving fouls and our players looked confused. They look like, oh, we got a free kick. The two things were I wanted the players to train hard and they're going to have to play on Sundays. I didn't want it to come as a shock when they run into like, oh, this is a bit tough. And so we try and train as hard as we can possibly train. And also, you don't always get decisions on the Sunday. So let's be prepared for not getting them. And if we get them, it's a bonus. And if we don't, we're okay with it. We get on and just play. It was done from a football basis, but actually there's so much character building in that. Definitely. There's so much just, get on with that as life, deal with it, And I'm proud of it. And the boys, I'm sure, are rightly proud of themselves, but also hopefully done in a fun way, and they seem to love their football. And attendance has been good. They all rock up. Generally speaking, they've got a great attitude most weeks. Yeah, and I'm proud of it. And so the two things, and it comes up every time: facilitate a positive environment. That's what I try to do. Don't always get it right, but I certainly try to do that. But if there's one word that is critical, and it's probably throughout any player's playing time, but arguably particularly when they're younger, it's confidence.
Yeah.
And as coaches, we can kid it quite easily. Body language, a little word, wrong thing, as dads, we can kid it a lot easier. Even the coaches can do it.
And it's the way you say it, the way your coaches come across, right? You might say something, but if you say it in the wrong tone, then it's taken completely different.
Or if you don't say something, you miss something. It's so hard. But I'll tell you, and you can be frustrated by a player and they're doing things wrong. But if you just pick on the things they're wrong, you're not going to get through that hurdle probably, because you might be almost not ignoring the stuff that's not right, but certainly deal with it, but in a constructive way. But then keep the confidence, keep the positives going there, and work on that, because the confidence kids are the ones that go out there and shine, aren't they?
Yeah. You want them to make mistakes, right? Because if they're not making mistakes, then they're not learning. You don't want them to make the same mistake all the time, but they need to make mistakes to learn.
Specific. Let's say we've got a boy that technically isn't quite as strong, or maybe chooses sometimes not to listen and do the right things.
Yes,
and it is frustrating, and you want them to get better and you want to help them do that. And it'd be quite easy. I would find it quite easy to have a go at little Jimmy and say, Jimmy, you've got to play quicker. You've got to move the ball faster. Get, and keep saying, we spoke about it before, and keep on at him. But what I'm better doing is focus on the positive things he does do well, and having those conversations around the other stuff at the right way and the right time.
Yeah.
So I can maintain a level of confidence in the player, but also work on the coaching points. Yeah. And I've got to get better at that. But the danger if you do it the other way and just kind of, because your points are still fair as a coach to say, actually, yes, Jimmy's got to move the ball quicker and he's got to turn and he can make better choices. If that's the only message he's getting all the time, then the confidence will go first, and then trying to get any positives out there can be harder work.
And I've seen it with other teams whereby the players of the coaches have kind of knocked players' confidence, and it just does not help. In fact, it makes it a lot worse, because the players then don't want to try new things, don't want to try this, don't want to try that, don't want to get on the ball because they're scared to get it.
They're overthinking. They're watching you rather than
exactly.
Thing. And I know this, and I think I've got lots of ways and things I need to get better at. But I think one of the things I'm pretty good at as a parent coach is I don't believe I have a problem coaching my kid, and I think I do that quite well.
Yeah.
Probably because I had the benefit of working with you in a team. My kid wasn't in it, so that helps me loads. But and I say this knowing how hard it is coaching your own kid.
Yeah.
And I often see it's often the coach's kid that gets the raw end of the stick from the coach. I'm not saying all the case, and you're very good as well with your both your boys. But even with you, I would say actually sometimes I do feel like, and you're very good. Yeah. But I think you'll even say, like, with your older boys, sometimes you can. It's definitely hard to not be the dad and be the coach, isn't it? Sometimes,
it is,
and that can have an impact on the kid.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do. But just if you're coaching your own kid out there, and we had a tweet about that actually as a recommendation. It was a good suggestion. So we will do an episode on coaching your kids. But if nothing else, just from this takeaway and reflection of the season, is go easy on your own kid. To be challenging and be fair, but treat them the same as the other 5, 6, 7, 10 kids you've got. Be consistent.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah. Well, right. I think just one. I would just maybe closing that. I would say that the under sevens, and again, obviously my son's as part of that team. I think it's been a great experience from this year. It was a great experience at under sixes. I think it's been a great experience from under sevens, and I think it's going to be great for them at under eights with the things you got planned for the team, and especially as they move into 7-a-side.
Do you know what I love, Mark? Next season. I appreciate saying that, but you know what I love? Those boys, they've never stood in a line. They've never waited for their turn to kick a ball. They've never run around coaching. And I'm not saying there's a place for that, but the bad coaching stuff. I'm not. This isn't an argument about unopposed and opposed stuff, because I get there's a place for everything. Don't believe they've come to session and been bored. Yeah. And it's like they're coaching. And if you go back to our childhoods as kids, I mean, with lots of clubs and played and got coached by lots of different people, and there was times when it was quite boring and dry, and or you were kind of pigeonholed into one position. I love the fact that our kids haven't experienced that. They don't know any different. They don't know that's what goes on in other places sometimes, and I'm proud of that. And I think our challenge now is to maintain it and keep it interesting, but also developing the boys and actually bringing some more technical stuff, because they need it, but in a way that's still fun and engaging. So that's the challenge for next season.
Yeah.
Shall we finish off then? So obviously summer break now from lots of people. Hopefully everyone's going to be hitting the beach somewhere, or at least getting some time to chill out and relax.
Yeah.
Have you got any suggestions for us, Mark, around things we could do while we're in between putting suntan lotion on and rolling from our front to our back on the sun lounges?
So obviously there's some good podcasts out there. of which this is one of them, right up there at the top, I would suggest. But there's some great podcasts out there, also some great books. I'm going to talk about a few books if you don't mind.
Yeah, do books. Go on.
Maybe you can just do a couple of podcasts. So one book I think is definitely worth reading is the book by Pete Sturgis called Futsal. It's training technique and tactics for futsal. But it goes beyond that. It also talks about environment and dealing with young players. So I think it's great, but it's also a good introduction to futsal and some practices, some fun practices you can take for futsal. It's definitely worth reading.
And is it fair to say that those practices transfer into grass football? It's not just for futsal, is it? You could use those.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I've definitely used one or two of them for in normal football. The other one that I read a while back now that I still got is called The Soccer Coach's Blueprint. And it's by Jason Carney. It's a really good book. Again, it's focused at youth coaching. I really enjoyed it actually. There's a lot. It talks a lot about 7-a-side and 9-a-side games and creating the right environment and things like that. It's a really good book and there's a section in there about resilience as well. Definitely worth reading. The other one that I've read, I'm reading at the moment, is Coaching Psychological Skills in Youth Football, Developing the 5 C's. That's Chris Harwood and Richard Anderson. I'm kind of a quarter way through that. I'm going to finish that off over the summer. Really good book. That's worth reading. Excellent book.
I want to buy that one off you if that's all right.
Yeah, about resilience and things like that. It's superb. And obviously making the ball roll. Ray Power. We've mentioned that before, but it's always worth mentioning. It's such a good book. You start off
a 10, isn't it? 100%. We're giving it out to our coaches, aren't we now? All our under 5s coaches that come on board are getting that as a present from the club. Yeah. It's just your little go-to Bible. It's your starting point, isn't it?
I think if there's one book that you're going to read ever, it's got to be that book, right?
Yeah, totally agree.
And then the final one is, I haven't got this book and I haven't read it, but it's called Junior Football, It's Not a Man's Game by Steve O'Donoghue. I think he talks through his experiences of being a youth team coach and the ups and downs and things like that. So I'm not sure I don't know. I've heard good things about it, but I haven't read it yet. You can either go direct to his website or it's on Amazon. So I think it'd be worth a read, and maybe I'll get it for the summer. And I'll mention it again next year, but it's called Junior Football, It's Not a Man's Game. Okay, sounds good. All right, brilliant. Some good recommendations there. Yeah. If we can, we'll try and put the links on the show notes or in the Twitter feed or something so you can find those. But definitely worth sticking your nose in the book over the summer, finding out something new and try and challenge yourself and what you can do next season. Yes. For me, obviously the podcasts are a big thing. Yes. I'm just going to mention one quickly. The Player Development Project, which are excellent, and they've been around a long time and got some great resources, and they're great. They're the coaches, and they articulate things really well. It's a higher level in many ways, but the stuff does transfer down into grassroots and recreational space as well. But they've just started off. I think Dan Wright's got a podcast now as part of that. So it's worth, if you've not visited recently, click on the Player Development Project podcast. And I think they're doing something similar to what we're doing, but probably more polished and at a higher level with a bit more intellect behind it. But certainly worth a listen. I listened to the one they did the other week. They actually Stuart Armstrong on it. So again, I'm sure they're going to get good coach on there and listen to that. And obviously Stu's got his one talent equation, which I'm a big fan of. Yeah. Just on that Player Development podcast, a good thing about that is the podcasts are I think they're 20 minutes. Some of them are 15, 20 minutes. As opposed to our 3-hour ones. Yeah, exactly. But they're good snippets. They choose one subject and talk about it and throw it around a bit for 20 minutes. Really good if you've got not a lot of time. So good. And the Modern Soccer Coach, which I'm sure everyone's probably come across, and the Way of Champions project as well with John O'Sullivan. So, but look, just if you find ones that you think are great, please do share with us because we're keen to pick up others where possible. But also, I would say step outside the world of football. Even if you go on the TED Daily Talks, there's things there around resilience, coaching, child development. Because let's not kid ourselves. When you're working with probably any kid under 16, but certainly the younger ones, it is more child development than is anything else. Yep. And if you can understand how the kids develop and how they learn, you're going to be a better coach for knowing that process. Even how the brain works, how learning, remembering, those kind of things. Maybe challenge yourself to find something that's non-football related but can have benefit in a sense to your soccer coaching as well. Totally agree. Yeah, and my challenge is for coaches to think about over the summer what we're going to bring to the table for the start of next season and how it looked different to this season. Yep. And maybe we'll share thoughts as part of episode 1 on season 2. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So we got double things to do, right? We need to think about what we're going to bring for the podcast next year, as well as our
Yes, yeah, you got a busy summer, man. You get no time to relax. Mark, just a few thank yous quickly.
Yes.
There's 2 minutes. Again, I've had a couple of emails. I've been so busy at work, but I will get back to the people that have emailed in about some different subjects specifically. I will do that over the next couple of weeks, I promise. We've had some really nice messages again through email, through Twitter, and reviews actually on the podcast. So we are really grateful. It's always nice getting positive feedback. Don't get us wrong, but that's not what it's about. But if you can give the reviews on the podcast channels, everyone you're using, click on the stars, write some comments, then apparently what happens is it's easy then for other people to find it when they're searching for things. So on that basis alone, we're not saying you should leave 1 star or 5 stars or what comments you leave, but please put it down, and then people, they can pick that up and make their own impression if they want to listen or not. We'd be really grateful if you can do that. But thanks to those that have done that already. The feedback continues to be positive, and we're grateful. We know we've got work to do to get this better. Our timing's more so than anything else. And we will hopefully make season 2 better than season 1. That's a challenge for us, and keep trying to find relevant content with good people to talk about stuff that is going to have an impact for the coaching that you do and the experience of the players that you've got.
Yeah, totally
sound
agree.
good. So thanks to who have we got here? Bluebird is at Twitter that said a real nice tweet for us. There was Ange311S who left a nice review. There was @Mills Dexter who did a really good thing with the socks. So they've got thing we got from Mike Hamilton at Wimbledon with the socks, and a lovely photo of all their players there looking really proud because they're obviously doing a thing there where they're challenging the kids to work through certain stages, which sounds brilliant. The boys there with big smiles on their faces, proud they've achieved something with their least preferred foot. So great work there. It's really good to see that, and appreciate you sharing it. As always, any thoughts or feedback, please let us know. You can reach us through the website, which is www.thesoccercoachingpodcast.com. You can tweet us at SoccerCoachCast. As much abuse to Mark as you want to give him, he loves it. He can't get enough of it. Obviously, just kind comments to me because I'm much more sensitive. But if we don't speak another episode before the summer, thank you for listening, everyone. Have a great summer. Enjoy the recharge and getting yourselves ready for the new season. And it's been a great experience for us.
Yeah, been brilliant. Yeah. Just reiterate, thank you everyone for the feedback, for listening, for giving us some of the great ideas to talk about different things. It's really appreciated. I think we have good fun doing this. We learn from it, which is our aim, and hopefully we're helping other coaches learn as well, which is just sharing the knowledge and picking up ideas and stealing from each other. All the guests this year have been great, and we're looking forward to more guests next year. Yeah, perfect. Sound good? Yeah. All right, enjoy the summer holidays, Mark. Thank you. You too.